welcome to this week's edition of Nerdgasm, where we will be covering the films of Mel Brooks, chosen by these two gentlemen right here, and a little something on Godzilla, because whereas I haven't really seen any Godzilla films, the host of tonight's program, Peppercorn Montgomery, has pretty much seen them all. And speaking of Peppercorn Montgomery, this is his last episode. And that's pretty messed up, because he was a staple. He was the soul of the Ghostbusters here. And, he was actually... No,
I'm sure I'll see him again.
Well, I'm not going to see him again. You guys work together. That's it for me. So now I would really like to begin this...
I'm never going to see Dave again?
It doesn't seem that way. You see, I would really like to start this episode with a special Q&A with tonight's guest, Peppercorn Montgomery. Now, Peppercorn, I'd like to ask you, what was the first movie you ever saw in the theater, and what do you remember from that experience?
Well, the first movie that my parents took me to was actually in a drive-in. It was when I was 6 months old, and it was the first Star Wars.
Nice.
I don't remember anything about that. But
But you were there.
But I was definitely there. The first summer it was out, originally, big screen, literally, drive-through. But I don't remember anything about that. The first time in the movies I remember, probably was actually seeing E.T., which is unfortunate. My first memory is bad. I was a little kid. I was 4 or 5 when it came out. And the early part, where E.T.'s still hiding in the shadows and Elliot's sneaking up to the tool shed and it's dark. I was terrified as a kid, so I hid under my jacket for the entire movie. Something that I'm still teased about by my family today, 10 or 12 years later. But yes, that's the first movie I remember seeing in the movie theaters. There have been many more since, most of which I've hid under my jacket for.
That's a pretty good question. I don't think I can even remember the first movie I saw.
It's tough. Do you remember the first movie you saw? Do you have like a clear
Apparently it was the Shaggy DA, right? And I have no memory of seeing the film. Apparently,
Wait, what movie?
The Shaggy DA.
Yeah.
Why they decided to make a film about a shaggy dog that's a district attorney, I'll never know. So that was the first film I ever saw, but the first
The bigger
film
question
I
is,
remember.
why have we never covered that on Nerdgasm?
It's just that. Nobody's interested.
On Nerdgasm, the Shaggy
And
Dog series. And then we would just have dogs here.
That's a very good idea.
People love dogs.
So now I want to ask you, how did the name Peppercorn Montgomery come about? Because I'm going to go out on the long shot and say that was not the name that you were born with.
It's actually, it's my Iroquois name, and it means he with the physique of a buffalo.
I can't tell if you're kidding or not. Iroquois name.
Of course I'm kidding. The name is Peppercorn Montgomery. How did it come up? It's a magical story of deception and big brotheritis and stuff like this. And it was sort of because I work for a major corporation with a large presence that sometimes goes beyond its borders and sort of peeks at what you do online. So it was a way sort of to disguise what I do online, and especially also because I'm a pretty honest and straightforward shooter. So sometimes things I post online shouldn't be seen by family members. So it became that, and then I made a big list of names to basically make fake names and stuff like this, and Peppercorn Montgomery was the one that really stuck out.
So now you use it as, for when you do theater productions, when you direct, that's pretty much your stage.
I pretty much only use it, it became this character I created. On this show, it's basically just me being me. But for the most part, it was a caricature of myself as sort of the egotistical theater type person. It was this sort of cross between Orson Welles and
Otto Preminger?
Yeah.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That sort of, thespian-like, proud, drinks wine and talks about film and theater.
I've seen him perform in a play, with that exact
That was
character.
our experiment.
Yeah.
Essentially, that's what we were trying
I've seen him in more than one play as that particular character. Now, so you knew Joe Winchell well before we did the show, before we hosted the show. Now, how did you two know each other?
Well, that's a romantic tale. Honey, do you want to tell them? No, how did I met Joe through friends of friends, actually.
I went to the same college.
Yes, but I wasn't there when Joe was there because I'm slightly older, only about a year or so. I went back to school. Suffolk Community College was doing The Tempest at the time. I think was when I first met you. And my theater professor, Stephen, was in the show as Prospero. And several of my friends, James Alexander, James Taffarelli, and a few other people I knew were cast in the show, and they were the major characters and stuff. So I came to see the show, and we hung out afterwards, and they introduced me to Joe Winchell, who sort of hung in the peripheral. And eventually he just sort of nudged his way up to the front of the line and has stayed there steadily ever since. As the other fans came and went, he still follows me.
Very stubborn.
But Joe, I got to ask you what your first impression of Peppercorn Montgomery was.
Joe.
When you
Be honest.
I remember the first thing Tim ever said to me. We were at a big table.
I'm sorry, what was his name? I think we're talking about Peppercorn,
his
not this stranger Tim.
His name's Tim.
For those who haven't figured that out, my name is Timothy. It's Timothy Gillespie.
So I remember,
That's
I remember the first thing, and I think it was at Ibsen's birthday. We were all at Applebee's at a long table,
Ibsen.
And I was there.
Jason Ibsen, not Heinrich Ibsen, the writer.
Yeah, and I think we were
It
all
might have been
there.
his birthday too.
And I remember somebody said something like, I think we have too many at the table, and Tim said, well, we better start killing off people. I say you first, and he points at me. I just kind of laughed about it.
The guy, he doesn't even know you, and you're already killing him off.
Yeah, but if you know Tim, that makes sense.
Well, we already
At the same time, Tim, I knew that I knew everybody else, and
We had a bunch of other
I think
lanky
he saw
drunks.
that I ripped on our friend Ibsen a few times, and must have probably been.
Joe had the potential to be a decent human being.
Instead, I stayed in this.
Well, sometimes we don't live up to those potential. But you'll try.
I'm a hell of a henchman, though.
So now you're a big theater guy and you're a big motion picture person. So
Yes.
now between the two, which is more your passion?
It's tough. I love both, and I've done both acting-wise. I've done, of course, a lot more theater than film, but I've done quite a bit of film. And I really like doing film, but my heart and passion is in the theater. I just mainly because I love doing I love doing film and stuff like that, but film is really more of a director's and screenwriter's medium, and the digital director of photography and stuff like that. Whereas acting, there's a director and everything else, but was actor's medium. I mean, you're out there all alone with no second take or anything else like that, and you're telling a whole story. You're carrying a character all the way through, and it allows you to really perform. As with movies, sometimes you do one scene this week, and then you do the next scene 3 weeks from then, and then 2 weeks. It's all over the place, and you don't get that clear through line. And then you do like 3 lines, and then it's cut, change the count. Do 4 lines. So it's very hard. Film is actually a very hard acting medium because of that.
What do you think your best performance was?
My best performance,
Other than on this show?
I think I know what it might be, but I want to see what you.
what would you say?
Honestly, for me, it's a tie. No, it is. It's Merry Wives of Windsor when you played Falstaff.
Yeah, Merry Wives of Windsor was probably.
You still get compliments on to this day.
I run into people. That was
when you go to the
6
Shakespeare
years
Festival.
ago?
People still remember.
Yeah,
Tim.
still remember that performance.
commend him on-
fantastic.
even before they
It's actually the
congratulate-
picture that's in the credits of me is
Right,
from.
I was going to ask you what that was.
from-
Yeah.
Right, is from that show. That's
I saw that show. You're
What was
very,
it? Do you
very
remember
good.
what that moment is when you're actually saying the line? Because when I created the opening
Oh,
montage
right.
of that
That's
show,
ruined that
do you
one
remember what your lines, what was happening in that scene, what you were
It's
doing
early in the
that?
show, and it's Falstaff, who's currently broke, as he often is devising a plan to seduce the 2 richest men in town's wives. And he really believes that he is quite the Lothario and smooth talker and ladies' man and stuff like this. So he's laying out this elaborate plan where he's going to woo them and sweep them off their feet, and they will become, his sugar mamas and all this, not using that exact term, more of a Shakespearean terms, but and stuff like that. So it's sort of that primming and preening thing. I do a little cross-leg curtsy and all. It's just playing up the thing. And then in the end, I get ridiculously mocked by my henchmen, who I then fire immediately by throwing a bench at them.
So now, what's the most outlandish on set film experience or theater experience that you can think of? The thing, because we've all had
These
those.
stories are great.
There's a ton of crazy things. You work in this business long enough, and pretty much every show has its story. One of the weirdest stories, I don't know if it's that funny, but I'll tell it anyway. I was producing, and I was also starring in my friend's independent film called Armageddon for Andy, which we did back in 2001. That's quite a long time ago. And there was a scene in the original script that took place on a school bus. The whole play takes place in a high school on like the last day of school before the prom. And we had a scene on a school bus, and we didn't know how we were going to film on a school bus, where we were going to get a school bus, and we know anyone who drives a school bus. So the director's sister actually worked at a daycare center, which was in a church, and one of the people who went to the church had left their school bus there for like months. And he said, can I park it here, and in exchange you can use it whenever you need a bus. Some weird, I guess he had a huge family, and he did have a huge family. So when we said we had this problem with the bus, she was like, well, why don't you just use the bus we have? He's like, it's been there for like 8 months. We've never used it. Go ahead and use it. So we went there and we went to start the bus. And the bus originally did not start. So I popped the trunk and looked over, and he had disconnected the battery, which is a good idea. So I said, okay. So I told my friend Dan, who was also working on the show, who played Roger in the movie. I said, hook up the battery. I'll hop in and start it. Just tell me when it's done. And he so he went out there and he hooked up the battery. Unbeknownst to me, that Dan knew nothing about cars or batteries. And he had hooked up the poles backwards. He put the negative on the positive and the positive on the negative.
That basically melts the battery.
And it melted the battery. Melted the battery of a bus of someone we didn't know, and we weren't. So we freaked out, as naturally we would. And after we decided that it would be a very bad taste just to leave it and run away, and we knew we'd probably eventually get caught. So we actually went to my house, where my brother and father store tons of car parts and all this other stuff. And I went there and I told my dad, I was like, you wouldn't happen to have a spare car battery on you? And he's like, yeah. And he took it out of his pile of car batteries and gave it to us. And he's like, why? And then I told him, and he's like, all right, fine. So he went with us, and we took out the melted battery, and we put in the good battery and hooked it up. And he jumped it with his car, and we got the bus started, and we're like, woo, saved the day, and everything else like that. All right, we get to do the bus scene. I was in the driver's seat ready to pull away when a van pulls up right next to us, and it's the owner of the bus. And the owner of the bus is just like, hey, what's going on? And I was like, oh, it's like, well, you said, oh, yeah, that's right. I said you could use it. But unfortunately, I have to go down to Florida and take my family. And here he is in a minivan with 20 kids, just stacked to the gills, which is, I guess, why he had the school. He's like, oh, I'm going to take it down to Florida for 6 months. And he did. He took the bus out. So we went through all of that, and the bus scene got cut from the movie because we had no bus.
What was the name of that film?
Armageddon for Andy.
Okay, and now is that like a YouTube movie? What is that?
No, it's actually you can get it on the web if you go to, I'm plugging a movie. Sue me. Bohemianfilms.com. If you go on there, you can actually download.
It's free though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's free, and you can download the final cut of the movie. It's only about 55 minutes long. Cool. The final cut of the movie.
So now you're not going to be around. Oh, that's a good shot. Now you're not going to be around for. Somebody just went to your Facebook page. So you're not going to be around for the rest of the show. So tell us what films you're looking forward to in the upcoming.
Oh God, we're talking about
this summer.
I was just talking about with a friend of mine. Even the month of May, there's 3 major films coming out.
I mean, Spider-Man's this weekend, which I'm really looking forward to seeing. After that is Godzilla, which I'm really looking forward to seeing.
So
we watched the Chinese trailer, which
so
why this trailer isn't in America, I don't know. It's just like please take my money and my soul. I will go see it.
That's what I said to him. Yeah. Take my money.
Please take my money. Yeah. After that, it's X-Men: Days of Future Past.
Yeah.
Then we have Sin City is
Sin City 2,
that's in August. Guardians of the Galaxy.
It's a good summer.
It's a really packed summer.
Is there something in June or July that we're not forgetting?
Probably. I'm forgetting all about it. There's some other comic book movie probably.
Yeah.
It's an amazing summer for movies. I'll probably be in the movie theater every weekend. I say.
That's why you can't do the show. He's going to be tied up at the movie theater. Now,
I'll be at rehearsals.
But seriously, yeah, so what's coming up next for you? Like, what's...
Well, I'll be doing the Long Island Shakespeare Festival. We have auditions in a couple weeks, so I have to get ready for that. Yep. And then that will be rehearsing all week, and then that goes up in July.
If only I was decent at Shakespeare, I'd so be auditioning for you. But I'm not.
Oh, well.
So
There's always
now-
next time.
Okay, well, I can maybe learn how to
never.
use the
You
Shakespeare
come down and be a
dialect.
spear bearer.
That's right. I could walk
You got to
in the
work your way
background
up.
with a spear.
I mean, I started off in a lead role, but I'm excellent.
So one year I'm holding a spear. Next year I'm Hamlet, right? So that's usually the way it goes.
I've seen stranger transitions,
I will
honestly.
never see anything as strange as that.
Yeah.
So, now Timmy Packer has a question. He wrote this on the Facebook page. I'd like to know if you had a favorite segment of the show, or did you just enjoy the whole show the same? And will you come back and be a co-host for a future episode?
I'll come back and co-host for a future episode. There's definitely things worth covering in the movie biz and so forth. I mean, we already talked about how crazy the summer is. I am crazy busy, so maybe after the summer and everything else like that, if there's a movie that interests me, I'll definitely drop me a line.
You got to do something with Godzilla, though, clearly.
Yes. Yeah, well, I'll film a segment and mail it into you guys.
Yeah,
Just write something, I'll read it on air.
there's that too. Now, Donna Walter asks.
Oh, I didn't answer the first part of the question, though.
Okay.
I asked the last part because I'm backwards like that. A favorite segment. There's actually two that come to mind. Real quick, we did a Futurama episode about and we made a list of the top 10 Futurama episodes. And that was the one episode Dave was out, and our friend Lou was filling in. Yeah. And at the top of the show, we were talking about what words you can say on air. And Bonnie, I think, told us, you could say ass, but don't abuse it. Keep it to a bare minimum, maybe once or twice, and And I didn't even think about this. I put in a clip of the best of Bender from Futurama, and it's literally 6 minutes of just him saying, "Bite my shiny metal ass," over and over. And I was just sitting in the chair watching it like, this is hysterical. And then just slowly sinking down into my seat. But we didn't get in trouble for it, and it was very funny.
It was very funny.
My other, we had, I don't remember his name, Dave, you probably remember, the guy who directed the Montauk Chronicles. And stuff like that. I didn't get to see his movie yet, but he was really interesting. That was a really interesting independent film worth seeing, and I had a lot of fun with that one.
Cool. Christopher Guerrero. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Lastly, the question we have is from Donna Walter, who said, "What is the one thing you like most about hosting with Dave Campfield? Does any particular quirk come to mind?"
His girlfriend wrote that under.
No, that's not my girlfriend.
What do you love
What do you love about Dave?
Dave.
I don't know.
He's small
Is it his
and
rock hard
unassuming.
abs?
It is his rock hard abs. Thank you, Joe. That's a big one.
My abs are not rock hard. They're just medium rock.
Did you say habs or
My
abs?
abs.
I thought you said abs.
Abs. His
My
ass.
Abs.
His
My
ass.
ass isn't that hard. I'm
Okay,
sorry, just
good
gonna
to
call
know.
back to
See,
the.
love boys, abs.
I love working with Dave and his amazing use of the English language, especially when he's feeling awkward. Oh, that's a sweet one.
Looks forced.
It looks really forced. I like how I'm in the corner, like I'm supposed to be doing sign language.
Let's do a little quick roundup of the news, though. So this week was a huge news story in terms of like
Still don't
upcoming
understand how this
films.
is huge news. Everybody.
Because it was everywhere.
Okay,
It was everywhere.
It was empty news.
After months of speculation, the cast for Star Wars Episode 7 was announced, and the surprise additions to the cast is the lead actor of the last Coen Brothers movie, who I really wasn't familiar with before that film.
Oscar Isaac?
Oscar Isaac.
No, I was inside Llewyn Davis or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So the star of that film was a major part, and Max von Sydow had never been brought up in in news reports. So,
Classic misdirection, man.
right, but what's interesting.
He'll be playing a young Count
Right,
Dooku.
yeah, no Jesse Plimpkins, and there's no Benedict Cumberbatch. I mean, there's a lot of surprises that are in this cast. And one thing that surprised me as well is that there's a cast as small, if not smaller, than the original film in terms of names.
Those are just major characters, though.
So you think there's going to be other people?
Well,
There'll be.
if you look at the original Star Wars, most of those guys were relatively unknown. Mark Hamill wasn't very known.
Well, Alec Guinness and Max von Sydow is the equivalent of Alec Guinness of.
Harrison Ford wasn't even that well known.
Yeah. All right, so you basically had an Alec Guinness, but they definitely took the. They
I think
definitely.
Carrie Fisher was Carrie Fisher well known?
No.
No, exactly.
I think she was like in Shampoo, but the thing is, they
Right.
definitely
But
took the
that's my
same
point. It's
approach.
like, no, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Now, when there was Episode 1, you had Liam Neeson, you had like almost bigger names. They're going back to the real purist
the
point of view
fall
of
of the
getting
series.
people,
Too many stars.
new, like fresh faces for the series. Other than the original cast, you have a lot of people
Again, I
that
think
aren't
it
now.
speaks to what the original was.
Yeah, and clearly these are people that are so motivated by trying to recapture it. You guys, we're gonna have a prequels episode coming up in a near future. I know you guys, you're not around for it. Peppercorn.
shucks.
You're gonna miss. You might want to call in.
I'll gladly. I'll just have him write something. Tim's words are very
prolific. Okay, so anyway, I have good hope for this, partially because I did not hate all of the prequel movies. Not all, some of them.
You're on a tiny island by yourself.
Sinking quick,
No, I'm
too.
really not. I'm just saying. I'm not saying they're as good as the original, except for I don't like Phantom Menace at all. I find positive things to say about the ones I followed, but they're still not as good as the original. But it's a worthwhile discussion. Now, you guys, if you're not enthusiastic about Episode 7, as filmgoers, I'm really surprised.
Listen, it's a Star Wars movie. Am I going to see it? Yes. Am I going to pay full price to see it? Absolutely not. But listen, they made the right choices in casting. They brought back the original cast, which is what everyone wants. So that's it. And then the rest of the cast, they took people who have established themselves reputably in acting roles here and there. With the exception of Max von Sydow, who's been around forever. But Oscar Isaacs, the kid from Girls, I forget his name.
Adam Driver, yeah.
Yeah. And then a few of the other people there are, have established themselves as being very talented actors. They're not huge names. They're not marquee names to round out the cast. The cast seems a little bit... Oh, you have to read the...
I have to read something.
Yes.
We got two questions that are directed right to you, Peppercorn.
Oh.
Don't zoom in on me.
Zoom in on Joe.
That's Joe's reading face. Okay, so...
Harrison Ford has done...
Timmy Pasker asked, what made Peppercorn want to host Nerdgasm, and how did you get involved?
We bribed him.
Jerry offered me money.
Yeah, he did.
And sex. I didn't take either of them. Because the money would have been used to pay for the sex, and it was gross.
Ooh, and now Heather is asking, Missy Heather, a.k.a. Missy Heather, was asking, what was the one topic that you wished you covered but didn't on Nerdgasm?
Well, clearly the Shaggy Dog series, as I previously mentioned. We could have sat here with dogs on our lap. It would have been fantastic. And then somehow Joe would have gone into a rant and all the dogs would have started barking. It would have been pure flipping chaos. So good. Delicious.
So I think it's about when we get back.
Yeah! It's back with a vengeance!
Look at how comfortable you are right there.
So we're gonna.
I am not comfortable in that moment. Let me tell you.
I like how it's a picture of
Wait,
a picture.
you're not comfortable, Joe? Joe, you're the one motorboarding me, whatever
I
you call
couldn't
it.
help it. I got views, didn't it?
I don't know.
I'm not gonna take my shirt off.
I think we lost viewers that night.
See, Jerry looks totally comfortable. You, not so much.
It's like a bear in his cup.
Yeah.
A bear in his cup,
It's
man.
Yogi and Boo Boo.
It's Yogi and
So now, we're gonna end up for commercial break. When we get back, Tim is taking to host the whole rest of the show as we talk about Mel Brooks and Godzilla, and that Mel Brooks film about Godzilla that never happened.
Oh my God, that would be so good. Let's make that movie.
Come on back. Take it away.
Scandalous.
In Revio.com.
Last night we talked. You told me you were looking for something more.
Transmission of lice occurs from being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Like catching a cold or a flu.
You have guaranteed peace of mind in every bottle of Got Lice because all of our products are completely natural,
And organic.
but strong enough to cover all your lice removal needs while being safe and effective. Our professional technicians are specially trained with our exclusive proven technique to successfully comb out head lice. We come right to your home at your convenience.
Whenever you want us.
We bring everything needed to perform a successful and complete comb out while eliminating your head lice. And we leave you with our exclusive complimentary products to use for the next 10 days following our treatment.
For free.
Our technicians also check all family members who have been exposed to lice. Please visit us on our website today at gotlice.co or feel free to call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at 646-257-0121.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, InRavio can get your message out there. And we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is InRavio.com. For over 60 years, Hanson Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hanson Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit HansonCarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hanson Carpet has got you covered.
I'm Nikki Lorenzo, and be sure to watch In or Out, pun intended, on Friday nights on InRavio.com.
InRavio.com.
Oh, God.
Good evening and welcome back to Red Shoe Diaries. Tonight we're going to read a message from David Campfield. Dear Timothy, I've always been very aroused while sitting next to you, but not so much with Joe. He's sort of like a, well, you know what, I'll read this later. Anyway, welcome back to the show. I get to host now because I'm leaving.
Rut noodle. Go ahead.
I
get the host now because I'm leaving.
This is an important lesson for you all to learn. If you stick something out till you have to leave, then you'll eventually.
I offered you hosting other shows.
He did. He did let
said-
me.
Yeah.
I hosted one other show.
No, I said, what other show would you like to host? And you're like, well, give me some time. I have to mentally prepare
I
for
haven't
it.
hosted
I
any
did, and then I
shows
mentally
yet.
prepared and left.
Dave, I'm leaving.
No.
Okay,
But tonight apparently we were talking about commercials. No, I'm sorry. We're talking about Mel Brooks movies. If you haven't seen any Mel Brooks movies, well, you live an empty, soulless life. And good luck with that. But if you have seen Mel Brooks movies, you know what an hysterical guy is. Oh, Dad.
Great picture.
So we're going to start off the top of the list by talking about Mel Brooks' first movie. I would go into a long description of where Mel Brooks came up from and his backstory and stuff, but you could actually look
Read a
that
book,
up online.
man.
Yeah,
I'm not here to do that.
You don't have to read a book. Go onto YouTube and just type up Mel Brooks interviews. He talks for hours and gives you his whole life story. And at 80, remembers everything about it. But his first movie, his first official film, was a film called The Producers, which later on went to be
Big
turned
Broadway musical. Very
to
successful.
a Broadway musical. Exceptionally successful. That's the word game for today. Anyway, so this movie stars Zero Mostel and Gene Wilder, and it essentially is it's a twist on the old classic style movie of the let's put a show on sort of genre of films. In this one, the goal is not so much to put a show on, it's to put on the worst show in the history of Broadway.
But give it big, put it out there and make a bunch of money in the first night.
Yeah. Because they're saying, if they raise too much money, the whole plot is, I'll give you the plot real quick. If we raise too much money and play bombs. No one will come looking for the extra money that we didn't spend on the show, and then they run away with the money to Rio. That's the whole plan. And of course, as with any good movie, everything goes right.
Yeah.
They pick the wrong director, the wrong cast, the wrong script.
All
and
intentionally.
All intentionally, and it
yeah.
turns into the biggest
Broadway
successful Broadway
ever.
in a play called Springtime for Hitler.
Still the greatest title in history.
Which was originally supposed to be the title of the movie, but no one
would buy a movie called Springtime for Hitler in Germany.
It's hard to pitch that one. But it's a fantastic, fantastic early movie made for a shoestring budget. It's very early
funny.
Gene Wilder, Zero Mostel at his finest.
Gene Wilder's very funny.
Yeah, there's
really young.
Yeah, he plays. Well, if you've seen the music, I think more people probably
the
have seen the
Broadway
musical.
part, doesn't he?
What?
Doesn't he? Which one part does he play?
Gene Wilder plays the accountant.
That's right,
The sort of
one that Matthew
weaselly,
Broderick
whiny
played,
little
yeah.
accountant.
very good.
And Zero Mostel just plays this bigger-than-life producer who is making a living by sleeping with old women, which is some of the most fantastic bits in the show is his sort of role-playing he does with the little old ladies.
It's really funny.
Sounds creepy, I know,
funny. It's very funny.
but it's hysterical.
It's
If you haven't seen The Producers, and I feel like on this list, the one movie you probably haven't is probably The Producers, and maybe a few others, but this one definitely.
A lot of people don't
go out.
realize it was a movie, like a regular. It's not a musical at all. The original's not a musical.
Well, it is. No, because they make a musical, so the musical songs are in there.
Yeah, but not nearly as much as.
No.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
No,
it
it's
feels
not.
more like a movie than it does a musical.
It's a movie with a musical in it.
Yeah.
Have you seen The Producers?
Absolutely, I loved it. And I haven't seen the remake, but I'm assuming
The remake's quite terrible.
Just go see it live on stage is better. Though.
Yeah,
But, one thing, there was an actor in there. There's a lot of supporting players. The guy who went out to play Mr. Belvedere has this wonderful little cameo.
Right, he plays the director.
Yes, he's the director.
And
Which is foreshadowing when you really think about it.
remember the guy from It's a Mad, that funny comic actor from the
Dick Shawn.
60s?
Dick
Right,
Shawn.
exactly. The one
Plays
who played Hitler.
He does a fantastic audition piece called, what is it called? I forget what it is, but it's this hippie song about giving flowers to everyone, and then get beaten up by a cop.
It's pretty funny.
YouTube this stuff.
Yeah, just
after the show.
It's a
You're
great
saying about
comment.
it.
The Producers I watched it with my co-star from the Cesar Arnado films, and it's just like this is what comedy's about, And when I'd only known of Young Frankenstein and Blazing Saddles. We were this was out of our off the radar for us.
Right.
Kind of picked it up as a lark, and I loved it.
It was his first film.
Yeah,
a lot of people knew about it. A lot of people think Blazing Saddles is his first film.
Right.
It's not true.
But I mean, this film was lost to obscurity for a while.
I'm over here, everybody. How are you tonight?
I'm sorry. Yes, Joe's over here. Let's talk to Joe for a moment because Joe is sensitive.
I've already said no. I cut people off too much.
Do you want to start on the next film, Joe? Come on, Joe. Be a part of the show.
The next film is.
I'm going to interrupt Joe. We tease each other. I hate him so much.
Wait.
Good, dead air. This is what I need in my final show.
Blazing Saddles. What do you think of Blazing Saddles, Tim?
Awful movie.
Terrible film, right?
No, Blazing Saddles is a brilliant commentary on racism in America, and it's also one of the funniest spoofs of Western movies you could possibly see.
It's one of those movies where I think literally every line of dialogue is hysterical.
It was co-wrote with Richard Pryor.
In the beginning. Richard Pryor wrote all the Mongo jokes.
Yeah, he wrote all the Mongo jokes, and he co-wrote the script. He originally was supposed to play Bart, who's the lead character in it, the sheriff, the black sheriff.
Yeah.
I don't know why I made quotation marks, the black sheriff.
Sheriff.
But the studio was totally not into it.
No, they didn't want to.
But Richard Pryor did help pick the actor who did play the part, which is Cleavon Little, who was exceptionally brilliant in it. And he worked so well with Gene Wilder. They make a great comic pair, and this is a hysterical movie.
It's just like,
there's
not a lot to say about the movie other than it's really funny, really good. I mean, Slim Pickens is in it. The cast is
Slim Pickens, Harvey Korman, Madeline Kahn, who is always exceptional.
I love the talking to the camera, Harvey.
The big thing Harvey Korman does.
Harvey Korman, few people could talk to the camera as well as he did.
Yes. It's like
my favorite moment when someone talks to the camera is when they're punching the old lady. Isn't this just the worst?
But at the same time, like a lot of times when people talk to the camera, it doesn't work. It's like awkward self-conscious. Even like when in later Mel Brooks movies, what was that? Missed it by that much. Like when Tracy Ullman was talking to the camera. I mean, it does not land in the same way. I saw pieces of it and decided I didn't want to see any more of it. But like it doesn't land in the same way that that the early stuff did. This was definitely, in my opinion, his prime.
His greatest movie was made in almost the same year.
Yeah, I mean, he pumped out 2 of the best comic movies ever. And let's just get to that next one. Why are we waiting around? What else does anyone have anything to complain about? Frankenstein? To hell with you. Young Frankenstein, this is hands down my favorite Mel Brooks movie of all time.
It's up there. I think
it does this. I mean, Gene Wilder.
It's Gene Wilder probably in his best performance.
And it does such an amazing job of spoofing
everything
and satiring the old Universal monster movies
so well.
From Frankenstein, Dracula, and all of those. And the detail Mel Brooks put in. I mean, he got all the original equipment from those films. He
found lying in a garage or a storehouse.
Yeah, it was
Didn't he just find it and he got it for free or something like that?
Yeah, they just gave it to him, like the old,
It was
Tesla
It was the old Frankenstein set, I think.
And they gave it to him, and it's just the attention to detail and the performances are so amazing. From Gene Wilder, who we mentioned, Marty Feldman, Terry Garr,
Gene Hackman's in it.
Peter Boyle, Gene Hackman in
he did it for free.
Hysterical role as a blind man.
So funny. One of the best scenes of the movie.
Kenneth Mars.
How did he get cast? Do you have any idea how Hackman got
cast?
They
just asked him. This was back. Gene knew Mel Gene Hackman knew either Gene Wilder or Mel Brooks, and they didn't have because this movie wasn't made for a lot of money. It wasn't made for a lot of money at all.
But this was back in the day when there was still studios around where there was someone you just bumped into all the time and be like, I want to put you in one of my movies. And then the opportunity never... So it's just like, I don't know, we'll put you in something. Come on with me.
Yeah.
And it just sort of worked.
Gene Hackman knew Mel Brooks or knew Gene Wilder, and they didn't have the part cast. And one of them said, well, I know Gene Hackman. And they said, Gene Hackman, we'll give him a call. And he came, and he literally said, I have a weekend coming up, I'll come in. And because he was such good friends with either Mel Brooks or Gene Wilder, he said, I'll just come in and do it, I'll do a day, and don't worry about it. I know I've known you, he knows one of those guys for like a long time.
Yeah.
Because it's a part you can imagine Gene Hackman.
But he's really good, man.
But the thing is, it's a part that you can imagine Gene Hackman playing now, about 40 years later.
Now
he's
he would
about
look more
the right age.
Naturally.
Yeah.
One of the interesting things, if you're a fan of acting and watching good acting, and of course Gene Wilder's performance is outstanding.
Probably flawless, actually.
And it's quite brilliant. And he does one of the most amazing quick takes to the camera a few times in that one that just comes off so well. And Dave's right, like that is a very hard thing to pull off and not done very well these days. But Peter Boyle, who passed away a couple of years ago, famous for being the dad on Everybody Loves Raymond and stuff like that. He has no lines except for grunting because he plays the creature and stuff like this. But he does so much, and then he has all this prosthetics on his face to make him look like Frankenstein and stuff like that. The stuff he just does with his eyes, just commentating on all the stuff that's going on.
It's a very physical performance.
Yeah. But he does this great, just looking at his eyes as he comments with his eyes on everything, on the insanity that's going on. In a weird twist, the most in on the joke person seems to be the creature.
Yeah.
Everyone else is insane, but the creature just sorts of...
And of course,
takes
once again, is the amazing Madeline Kahn comes in.
Oh, yes.
And she comes in late in the movie.
Yeah, she doesn't have a huge part, but...
but she's so hysterical.
Yeah.
The song bit, when they're in bed, like... It's so funny. She comes out with the hair.
I do want to compliment something else about the film as well, and that's
everything, all of it. I'll compliment the whole thing right now. But just point out which compliment you want.
Most people know Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein, but a lot of people don't realize that also what's being spoofed in this is Son of Frankenstein.
Oh,
it's like Mel Brooks really knew his Universal horror movie.
Christ, he's 80 years
information
old. He probably grew up with him.
I mean, because
it's a huge movie.
The Kenneth Mars parts with the darts. I mean, that's all right out of that whole character's right out of Son of Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Igor is right out of Son of Frankenstein.
Well, Igor was also in Frankenstein.
Fritz in the original Frankenstein.
Yeah, but that's also
Tim Dagger wants us to point out Cloris Leachman too.
Cloris Leachman,
yeah, who's
thank you
a staple of Mel Brooks movies and is hysterical.
And still working today, although she's jealous of Betty White. Betty White gets all the elderly roles and she doesn't.
Of course, this one's really funny in that movie.
Hysterical. But, you know, as Dave often talks about score, the score to Young Frankenstein is perfect. I mean, it just sets the tone.
This is exactly how good the score is. I remember when we were doing the Projectionist Night Off, and we did the
For
scene.
context, it's a play that they did together. Joe was the actor, Tim was the director, and it was called the Projectionist Night Off.
Projectionist Night Off. Not the Projectionist. Projectionist.
I don't always project.
All right, we'll have a diction debate later.
Projectionist Night
Diction
Off, and we opened. It was a bunch of movie scenes. We did them live on stage, and we did the Young Frankenstein scene, one of the most famous scenes in the movie, with the sign language bit when Froderick is being choked.
Oh yeah.
And he's got a sign. He can't. It's a great bit.
He's doing charades.
Yeah, he's doing charades.
Two
That's what he is. He's doing charades.
One word, two
two syllables. And I actually played the Gene Wilder part, and our friend Jimmy played. Was probably the best Igor ever, actually, because he was really funny. And then our friend Sibel, who I know you know, Dave, played Inga. And our friend Nick played the creature. And when we opened, Tim said, I think I want to open the show with this scene. It's a really good scene. We had rehearsed the crap out of it. And he's finally we got it where it is. We don't change it. We're going to open with this. And I said, that's really cool. You're going to play the score? He goes, yes.
Yeah.
And the opening night, I go, are you playing the whole score? And he goes, I'm playing the whole score. And we played the entire score, the opening score to that movie. And it worked because it's so good. It's a great, with the violin, it's fantastic.
It just said, I mean,
people
it beautifully
laughed about
sets,
it.
Yeah. Because it's an amazing, like, very romantic styled score for a movie that is so bizarre and hysterical that it just works. I mean, that's when Mel Brooks is clearly at his finest, when he really takes the time to make it authentic and then just make it slightly askew enough that it's brilliantly funny to comment on what it is. Something he sort of loses later in some of his later ones, but like the dialogue, the dialogue jokes. I mean, even is that a werewolf? They're a wolf. They're a castle. Werewolf. Werewolf.
I have to wonder.
Why are you talking like that?
I thought you wanted me to.
No, I don't.
Oh, fine. Suit yourself. I'm easy.
I would have to wonder if Mel Brooks was the age that he was when he made this versus when he made Spaceballs. What is he, about 40?
What's wrong with Spaceballs?
It doesn't compare to
Spaceballs
this. It doesn't compare to this. So I wonder,
it's about
if he
15
made it
years later.
If he made it at this age or at this point in his career, if it would have been at the level, in my opinion, that Young Frankenstein is. So what's up next on the list?
What's up next on the list? Well, let me
High Anxiety.
High Anxiety, which is a lot of people haven't seen this.
A lot of people haven't, but
this
you
is
should.
a really funny movie.
If you're a Hitchcock fan, you need to see this.
Oh my God, he satires it so
It's a must-see if you're a Hitchcock fan, and I'll tell you for two reasons. One, he does a great job spoofing all of Hitchcock's movies.
Mainly Vertigo.
Mainly Vertigo. But there's this amazing story that he tells. You know, he wanted to get Hitchcock's approval in order to do this movie, so he worked on the script and then kept bringing it to Alfred Hitchcock, and Hitchcock would make notes and send it back to him and stuff like this. So finally, he makes the movie. He completes it and stuff, and he shows it just for Alfred Hitchcock. And this is towards late.
What an amazing experience!
Yeah. And then this is late in Hitchcock's life, and he was a heavy-set.
Right?
He was retired by then.
But he was working on another film. Even when Hitchcock died, he had another.
He took a big break, but he wanted to come back.
He always said he'd come back, but he was looking for the right project.
But Hitchcock watched the movie and stuff like that, and he sat stone silent the whole time and stuff, and then the movie was over, and Hitchcock just got up, he stood, and then walked out of the aisle, which was the same aisle he walked past Mel Brooks, and didn't say a word, and just walked out of the movie at the end. And Mel Brooks was crestfallen. He was completely heartbroken.
I've ruined.
And he's just like, I completely insulted the man. I failed. Blah, blah, blah. And he said the next day he got a giant case of this incredibly expensive champagne, and just saying, good job, love, Alfred. Yeah. So that's what it is. It's this.
We still don't know if Hitchcock found it funny or if he was just being courteous.
I believe that he did, because I've read a lot of biographies on Hitchcock, and I've seen a bunch of movies and documentaries about him.
Got a weird sense of humor.
He's the kind of guy that would literally watch a film, and like he said in the script and made notes. He's literally the kind of guy that would watch a film and probably not react to it because he's just processing everything and thinking, did that work? He's looking at it from such a directorial writing standpoint.
Yeah.
You know? So I think.
And plus, I just don't see him as the.
And plus, I don't see him, if he really didn't like your film, I don't see him being that guy that would send you a thing of champagne.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't.
I think it was a sincere statement.
No.
By the way, before the end of the show, you've really got to give this audience a little listen to your Sean Connery impression.
It's not good.
It's terrible.
It started out. That whole segment started out as something, and then it turned into filler. That's all I'm going to tell you.
Let's be honest. All things in life are filler.
Yeah. But as far as
if it's good filler, it's a classic.
So high
Your
anxiety.
best, Joe.
It's good. High anxiety.
Losers always whine
There's a
about
lot
their
of-
best.
How many people in the chat room have seen High Anxiety? Timmy and
expect
anybody?
the
Raise your hands, kids.
Because I'd like to
Stop typing.
Because it is one of
This
the
is all Young
more.
Frankenstein stuff.
It's more under the radar than a lot of the
This is what
earlier
this is. I need
Brooks
glasses.
films are. It's not as under the radar as say
We have to
The
cut to a
Chair.
commercial soon. So.
The Chair. We're going to get to History of the World Part 1, but High
I like
Anxiety.
the
I mean,
font
as somebody that loves Hitchcock. It's great, but at the same time, it's not quite. He's losing his edge a little bit. Brooks is starting to lose it. Maybe
I disagree.
Maybe he's just getting too successful. Because a lot of times when you're successful, you don't have to prove yourself as much, and then boom, you
I think if there's one problem with the film, it's just that he's so true to Hitchcock that sometimes it's a little.
He's also got the guy back from Blazing Saddles. Can't remember his name. Headley. Isn't Headley in this
Harvey
one?
Korman. Yeah.
Harvey Korman.
Harvey Korman, Cloris Leachman, Madeline Kahn.
And Harvey Korman has one of the best lines right in the bell tower.
Oh, yes.
It's so good. I love it.
But it's not as good as the other two, that's
It's
for sure.
starting to hit and miss a little more than usual.
Yeah.
It hit and miss, but I still would say that it's a very funny movie.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's
I could
definitely.
watch
I think
it.
we got three.
In fact, I'd like to watch it again.
The three of us would get, especially if you know Hitchcock. The three of us would all recommend
you'll
it.
enjoy it.
Commercial?
Yes. Are we going to commercial? Who wants to go to commercial?
Audience, do you want us to go to commercial? We have to go to commercial.
Just go to the commercial.
Yeah, that's
Go to
right.
commercial.
That's how we go to commercial.
You need to know how to
Who
treat
cares
your
what the
lights.
audience thinks? We're not
Lights or
doing this for
another.
them.
There might even be a commercial for us when we're on there. You never know.
I hope so. That commercial we have
That
for
is
us
the
is pretty
dream.
funny.
We're panning out.
Come back.
For he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow, which nobody can deny. Which nobody can deny, which nobody can deny. For he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow, which nobody can deny. Mm. Mm.
in radio.com.
Last night we talked. You told me you were looking for something more.
Transmission of lice occurs from being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Like catching a cold or a flu.
You have guaranteed peace of mind in every bottle of Got Lice because all of our products are completely natural,
And organic.
but strong enough to cover all your lice removal needs while being safe and effective. Our professional technicians are specially trained with our exclusive proven technique to successfully comb out head lice. We come right to your home at your convenience.
Whenever you want us.
We bring everything needed to perform a successful and complete comb out while eliminating your head lice, and we leave you with our exclusive complimentary products to use for the next 10 days following our treatment.
For free.
Our technicians also check all family members who have been exposed to lice. Please visit us on our website today at gotlice.co or feel free to call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at 646-257-0121.
Hi, I'm Dave Campfield, host of Nerdgasm.
I'm Joe Winchell. Nobody likes me.
And I'm Peppercorn Montgomery.
Tune in every Wednesday night only on InRavio.com to hear the greatest nerd discussion of all time. It is Nerdgasmic.
It'll be the best nerdgasm you've ever had.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, InRavio can get your message out there. And we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is InRavio.com. For over 60 years, Hanson Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hanson Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit HansonCarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hanson Carpet has got you covered.
Welcome back to Nerdgasm for all your erotic needs. With me always is Joe Winchell, always and forever. And to my other side is Dave, who's like switched on the camera, so it doesn't matter. Anyway, there's Dave. Say hi to Dave. Look, he put a jacket on. He's looking stylish. He's letting that beard grow in. There's Joe, looking classy as always. Oh.
The operation, the mission of the control room is now to get us at our most surprise.
This show is brought to you by The New Yorker. History of the world.
Yeah, that's right.
Me? Screw you!
That was called a compliment, Joe. You don't shout back at me.
I don't know how to take compliments. I'm
Hey,
sorry.
Joe, look,
Aren't you
today.
handsome?
Screw you!
To hell with all of you. Never compliments
Zoidberg, get
me.
in here.
Oh, we were talking about the chat room. For those of you who don't know, we have a chat room. It's right next to the screen when you watch this show, and they're being very sad because I'm leaving, or because
awesome.
Dave's staying. One of the two. I'm just kidding.
I'm just surprised I didn't say anything about
I'm
me.
teasing you, but we're going to talk about.
How dare you, you insensitive clod! All right,
Dave wore
continue.
flood pants. By the way, it's raining a lot here. Is it raining by you? Nobody cares. Don't answer that. Do not waste the chat room time on the rain.
What's with the one-liners tonight?
I don't know. Who cares? What are they
You
going to do?
Kenny
Fire
Youngman?
me?
Who, you
Oh,
Kenny
yeah.
Youngman?
We have a
Take
film
my Dave,
to cover.
please.
We're up to History of the World Part 1.
We are, but we're going to
No,
skip
I
that.
want more one-liners from Tim. It's his last show. Let him do whatever he wants. Anyway,
That's true.
moving
We're
on.
going to talk about the silent movie, and we're going to do
That's
it in
right.
traditional silent movie fashion.
We don't have an. I can't put it.
Enough of that. Anyway, yes, it's a great movie. It's a tribute to the old silent movies, obviously.
Yeah. It's
It's
hysterical.
brilliant. The only line that's actually said is said by Marceau Marceau, who's a famous mime.
Yeah.
And if you don't get that,
That it's not
don't
funny.
go see the silent movie because it's going to be a
Movies-
little above your head.
I would say this movie's hysterical, like physical comedy wise.
Yes.
Like it's
As
like
a silent movie would have to be.
I know, but it's very funny and it's
Yes.
very meticulous as well with what they do.
Yeah, one of my favorite scenes in it is just Mel Brooks plays this director who's trying to make a new silent film. He was famous in the silent, and he became a drunk, as most directors do, except for Dave. You should become a drunk. It works. What do you call it? And then he becomes drunk and he cleans up and he's doing this movie and the movie goes bad, so he becomes a drunk again and he steals this giant bottle of wine and he goes down this alley and he's just pouring this giant bottle and all the winos are like crawling up to him and reaching and it's this little tribute to Ben-Hur and it's just like, you truly are the king of the winos, and it's just gets me every time. There's other funny things in it too, but you know, wine jokes, I love them.
It's another lost under the radar film by Mel Brooks, and
Did it make money? Was that a hit?
I don't know.
All right.
It's so hard.
Control Room is really enjoying unexpected cutaways.
Yesterday.
It makes the show fun. Okay.
My lips
now
are not
wait.
syncing with my mouth.
History of the World Part 1.
That's
Now,
weird.
host, what did you think of History of the World Part 1?
This movie is hysterical. It's very funny, and it talks about history, which everybody knows about. It opens with a spoof of 2001 with the apes rising up and stuff, but then they just get bored and jerk off and collapse.
Yes,
and then they do the cavemen, Rome,
That's a
the Bible. They do all these things. It's all these different segments in the history.
Great
It's just,
moment when they did the Ten Commandments thing. Can you hear me, Moses? Christ.
Moses,
15.
This is the Lord my God. Can you hear me? Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you. A deaf man can hear you. What? Nothing.
Nothing.
People of Israel, I bring you these 15. Shit. 10 commandments. That will be bleeped out later.
We're live.
That's a fantastic movie.
It's so fun. I mean, I think I would actually. Not that it's. Because Young
I don't think it's
Frankenstein.
as good,
I
but
don't
it
think
is-
it's as good as Young Frankenstein, but it's up
It's
there.
funny.
It's
It's
really
hysterical.
funny.
It's not as quality or as well written, I guess, but the jokes are just one after another, and they're just flinging by. And oh, you found my grandmother's hat. I
Well,
love
no,
it.
it's,
The weird thing is, I thought we buried her with it.
I bought these hats as a commemoration, toward you because you're always such a hat man. So, I figured that we'd all put
the
on
hat on
different
for me,
hats.
I'm not wearing the hat.
What? Okay.
Joe doesn't love me.
Yeah, it's
Except
a
physically.
Tim memorial. We all have to wear hats, and because here we go.
Yes.
Here we go.
Matt is wearing his hat. You can't see because he's in the control booth. But can we stop calling him a memorial? I'm not dying.
That's what
and
you
if I
think.
do, I'm going to come back and haunt Dave. Why is the camera always stopping? I don't know. What are we talking about? History of the World, really funny movie. We have other things to do. Where's the list? But History of the World is very funny. Some great performances from Dom DeLuise, Madeline Kahn.
Great dialogue. Madeline Kahn, once again, really funny.
Yes, his Empress Nympho.
There's so many good lines. Treasure bath. It's all good.
I'm going to have a treasure bath!
One of my favorite.
Nice.
One of my very favorite.
Very
bits-
nice.
One of
Not
my-
thrilling.
But nice.
One of my very favorite bits was Mel Brooks as the urine boy.
Oh, the piss boy.
Bismarck. And
This
so,
boy.
Sire, you look like the piss
how we-
boy.
and how we
you
got
look
the
like a
tit.
bucket of...
And how Harvey Korman gave him a tit.
That's for you.
I haven't seen that film for years, and that's the part that that I remember because it was
Harvey Korman
gold.
is a fantastic actor at playing a complete bastard.
Yeah.
He does it better and smoother than anyone else in film. It just comes off completely natural.
It's Headley.
Yes.
Did we bring up Gregory Hines?
Yes, Gregory
The
Hines.
whole movie, I can't. Oh,
Yes,
God.
Gregory Hines, the brilliant song and dance man, plays Josephus in this one. A slave who's trying to get out of being executed and thrown to the lions by telling them he's Jewish.
He is a eunuch.
And then he does the Hava Nagila. And then he does a big dance. It's hysterical. It's got dancing, then they fight it out.
Okay, so chat room, how would you rate? What are your top 3 favorite Mel Brooks movies as we continue on? What's next on the list?
Life Stinks, number 1.
No one's ever seen that.
Spaceballs is next.
Spaceballs is next.
Spaceballs.
Spaceballs.
Oh shit! There goes the. I've said. I keep.
That's all right. It's your last
This
show.
is
Go
your
ahead.
most vulgar show, Tim. Can't believe
Definitely
it.
not mine.
You're like Jerry Harr all of a sudden.
No.
Lord.
I haven't brought off feline AIDS yet. Saving that for my closing
You
monologue.
definitely have to know the show to get that joke.
It's an inside joke for our very select 3 fans.
I think Spaceballs is probably
Spaceballs is
Let me put
hysterical
it this
because
way:
you like Star Wars.
When we were doing Mac a couple of years ago, we literally quoted the whole movie. We sat there and we quoted the whole
entire
movie from beginning to end. And we did it in 20 minutes. We just did a speed thing of it, but I think it's the most quotable out of all of his films.
Well, I think it's just because we saw it, and plus, I saw it a lot when I was a kid because it was Spaceballs. It was a spoof of Star Wars and Star Trek.
Yeah, I did.
And I'm a huge fan of, or was a huge fan of those franchises. That sounded really bad. Still a huge fan of Star Trek, and I've seen Star Wars, but it's got a few other jokes in it. It's just ridiculous.
Little things that count.
And John Candyman I've always been a huge fan of his, so.
Barf.
Yeah, I don't know what else to say.
Well, the thing is, I always felt like, I'm going to say, this is the beginning of the end of the Mel Brooks that I knew.
Let's just quote the whole movie
because back when I saw it as a kid, and I was disappointed. Kids have low standards. And I thought to myself, why
Really?
it does
You should
not.
meet my
It
nieces
does
and
not.
nephews.
I'll put it this way: Mel Brooks was clearly not the same fan he was of Star Wars as he was of the old Universal horror movies because it did not have the same. Look, the authenticity that he brought to Young Frankenstein did not bring, not even a modicum of that authenticity to Spaceballs. I didn't love it then. I haven't seen it for years. It's like he was interested, I think, I think he was more interested in selling tickets, and so he put a lot of other Mel Brooksism, but it's not a film that's very loyal at all to Star Wars or even Star Trek for that matter. It's not made by a guy like us who loves that stuff and would have it. So particular.
Dave, do you know why they invented the dryer? Because nobody likes a wet blanket. Spaceballs is awesome and hysterical.
You're an idiot.
Coffee, sir? Yes, I always have coffee while I watch Radar.
I'm
Everybody
sorry.
knows that.
I
Of course
don't
we do,
understand
sir.
how somebody can at least like this movie.
I do like it.
Well, you didn't sound like you just did.
I'll put it this way.
Who made that man a host?
I did, sir. He's my friend.
Who was that?
I mean, we had some good lines like "quote comb the desert."
The whole movie. The whole movie.
Man, we ain't.
No, I just not the level of Young Frankenstein.
It is not pox on your house.
It is not the Frankenstein. It is not
a plague on both your houses. No.
Okay. Yeah, I think you might be blowing out the mic.
I hope I am. You're insane.
It is not. It is not the
Absolutely
Shut up.
insane. No, I'm not. You're insane.
Insane. You're the guy who likes the fifth Die Hard film and acts like it's a
There's
good film.
explosions in it.
Okay, no, but
Wow,
the
that
thing
movie's
is,
terrible.
I kind of like Spaceball, but it just always let me down. That's it. It just
Chat
kinda let me
room.
down.
I think
It's
the
not
audience would agree with me.
I think this chat room is very pro Spaceballs. Love the opening. That long
That one guy
shot.
I never loved it. I do still enjoy watching it.
Okay, Jeff, that long ongoing shot, brilliant. Okay, there are some moments of this film that are brilliant, right? But too much of it, I'm like,
Invader Jim.
Yeah, so.
Ship is too big. If I walk, the movie will be over.
I assure you, there's no shortage of air.
Upsy-daisy.
I've heard the same
Upsy-daisy.
rumor myself.
Perrier. Okay, what is next on the list?
Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Spaceballs. We're going back to Spaceballs because I'm like, what?
No, because you guys got to get to Godzilla, and you can go comb through every
Robin
Godzilla film
Hood
ever
is
made.
the last movie. Robin Hood Men in Tights. What else can I say about this
Yeah,
movie?
we skipped a few movies, which I'll mention right now. Life Stinks because it stunk. To Be or Not to Be, which is actually pretty good, but no one has seen it.
Yeah.
Dracula Dead and Loving It also stinks. So we skipped those few because I don't know what I'm talking about.
You really can't talk about them.
Yeah. There's a few funny lines in each of them.
Yeah,
They have
but as a whole,
or
like
12 Chairs. That was the other one we didn't mention because nobody's seen it.
Yeah, nobody ever.
I mean, if someone in the chat room has seen 12 Chairs, please speak up. We will wait here in absolute silence
But I
until
want a
that
full
happens.
synopsis.
There's 12 Chairs and Dom DeLuise. I gave it away. Robin Hood Men in Tights,
Great
which
movie. I thought it was funny as hell.
it's not one of his. This movie is, once again, it's very funny, but it's not a. I would never rank it up as a good movie, and
I
it's
wouldn't put
certainly
it up there
not
with
of
Young Frankenstein nearly
the
at all.
level of Young Frankenstein, Blazing Saddles. But it has, I mean, Cary Elwes in his prime, very hysterical. A very young Dave Chappelle. I think he was like 19 when the movie
20 or 19.
Yeah, who's very funny. There's some really cheap gags in it, and I think that's what takes away. But it spoofs the Robin Hood genre, which there have been tons of Robin Hood movies made. I mean, constantly they're making Robin Hood movies. I think they're actually talking about making another one, which makes me want to vomit on my
Is it a
shoes.
sequel to the Russell Crowe one?
Who cares?
Okay.
I don't care.
How did this compare to Spaceballs even? Because obviously
Spaceballs is better.
Spaceballs is better.
But this one has a lot of fun.
If you were to break Spaceballs, like this is right below Spaceballs because I can quote. I think
Yeah.
Robin Hood, but also was another movie that was on TV all the time.
Yeah.
But I think
it was on Comedy Central. It's probably on Comedy Central right now.
Yeah,
so if you're bored with us, and I am,
but I think
I'm going to go watch Comedy Central.
I like to think a lot that makes that movie good is Cary Elwes. Just he's always had this ability. He's like I want to say it's his cue pickup or almost. He's got great comedic timing.
His delivery,
his timing.
He commits to everything.
He does.
No matter how over the top and how sort of Errol Flynn-esque it may be, which is what
probably
works
on
for
purpose
this.
too.
Yeah, I mean he goes full tilt for it. Yeah. It's a shame that his career never really went. Yeah, I mean what did he have after that?
Well, one of the news girls was telling me that he was a bit of a strange cat anyway. So.
Who?
I'm not blowing my source. So that's somebody that literally came up in conversation the other day.
I don't want to know if you blow your source, but that's between you and
Hey, literally came up in conversation.
Who blew who?
Very recently, Cary Elwes came up in conversations that I saw him at a bar, and wow, was he strange. I said, was he drunk? No, he wasn't drunk.
Actors are weird people, man. What can I say?
I am not that weird. We know that Timmy.
Okay, so I think...
Don't call him Timmy.
Is there anything else on Robin Hood Men in Tights, which is a film I haven't really seen, so I'm not really offering anything. But is there anything left in Robin Hood Men in Tights to bring up before we head out to the last commercial break of tonight?
It's good dialogue.
Sheriff of Rottingham. I took acting classes with him.
It's good dialogue. It's
Roger Reese, by the way, is the actor's name. Very nice guy.
Who played... One of the best parts of the movie, in my opinion, is the Sheriff of Nottingham.
Yeah, Sheriff of Rottingham.
The guy from Cheers?
Yeah, Roger Reese.
He's a classically trained actor.
I know. I just said I took classes with him.
I was a
classical acting.
Oh, you mean you were a student? You were that guy's student?
Yes. I'm not old enough to be like.
I didn't know when you mentioned the name. I didn't put two and two together.
Yeah, because he went to school in like the '80s, and that was
the backwards dialogue.
Yeah, the backwards dialogue.
Juggling of everything.
Yeah, he's a really funny and very approachable guy too in real life. I guess it's real life, too, which is why that works. And him acting opposite Cary Elwes really just, it works. And it's fantastic. So, but it's not a great movie, but it's a hell of a lot of fun.
And Timmy Packer is pointing out the Patrick Stewart cameo.
Oh, yes, Patrick Stewart is King Richard.
It's good to be the king.
Yeah.
Second time we heard that line, I think.
Well, he says it like 10 times in History of the World.
That's what I mean. In a movie, second time.
Oh, right, yes. Hey, Maria. All right, so should we move on to something more?
I think we have to go to a commercial.
No, we're going to go to a commercial break.
Cary Elwes is a douche.
Ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen. There's been about how many Godzilla films? Like 30?
There's 30.
30 Godzilla films. So when we come back, these guys are going to take on the whole series in like 15 minutes or so?
Well, if this commercial's quick, it'll be 20.
And I haven't seen a single one of them. We'll see you soon.
You're a fool. The greatest films ever.
In Revio.com.
Last night we talked. You told me you were looking for something more.
Transmission of lice occurs from being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Like catching a cold or a flu.
You have guaranteed peace of mind in every bottle of Got Lice because all of our products are completely natural,
And organic.
but strong enough to cover all your lice removal needs while being safe and effective. Our professional technicians are specially trained with our exclusive proven technique to successfully comb out head lice. We come right to your home at your convenience.
Whenever you want us.
We bring everything needed to perform a successful and complete comb out while eliminating your head lice, and we leave you with our exclusive complimentary products to use for the next 10 days following our treatment.
For free.
Our technicians also check all family members who have been exposed to lice. Please visit us on our website today at gotlice.co or feel free to call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at 646-257-0121.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, InRavio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is InRavio.com. For over 60 years, Hansen Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hansen Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit HansenCarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hansen Carpet has got you covered.
Welcome back to Awakening the Woman Within. I'm your host, Timothy Gillespie. We might as well drop all the charades and just be who we really are. This is Buck Masters, and this is Simon Schwartz. I think it's best that we be honest with the people now, don't you? One of the things we were talking about during the break was how much we love that picture of Dave with his shirt off for not the reasons you're thinking. Sometimes the reasons you're thinking, but mostly because he looks so embarrassed. But that's my face up there. But if you look closely, you can see his naked body in my eye.
I expect to see Dave's naked body.
The reflection of it. That's why I look nauseous. And we were talking, one of the things I was saying about the later Mel Brooks movies is that they draw on a lot of the films that were out at the time, specifically Dracula Dead and Loving It, Spaceballs, and Robin Hood Men in Tights. They make lots of references as spoofs to movies that were out around the same time. And I think that's because of that, they don't necessarily, some of the jokes don't necessarily hold up over time. For example, one of the people in the chat room, who goes by the name of Lovely, what do you call it, was talking about Blinken has the Playboy magazine, the Braille Playboy, and it folds out and it's just like, and then it has boobs. Anyway, that's a joke based on the movie Sneakers, when one of the characters in there is blind and is reading Playboy in Braille and stuff like that. If you've never saw the movie Sneakers and
you have no idea what that is,
you have no idea what the movie Sneakers is, you should check it out. It's actually a really good movie. But you're not going to get
it. It waters it down. Like whereas Young Frankenstein was really a very specific spoof of that kind of film. You know, the later ones, Robin Hood and Spaceballs, really spoof of whatever was topical.
Right.
And things like even like Wizard of Oz. You know, like well, how's that in there? So I guess that was part of my objection even back then.
Funny.
That's okay.
You're allowed to laugh at what you want. But enough of this crap. Let's talk about Godzilla, because that's why we're all here. That's why I'm here. What do you call it? Joe has compiled a list of all the Godzilla movies on index cards. He wrote them out himself. He worked very hard. Please give him some attention.
I worked for 45 minutes.
That's a lot of work
It's
for
only
Joe.
because my handwriting sucks.
And he was out of beer. But so he's going to test me now.
Never out of beer.
And I'm still going to give you a little bit of info because I have seen all the Godzilla movies on each of them. So whenever Joe is ready,
what I'm going to do is I'm going to start rattling these movies off from the very first to the very last, and Tim is going to give his insight on it. Now,
before we begin, I need to point out something. Well, there's the full list. Anyway, I'm not going to really talk about the quality of these movies because each one of these movies is a cinematic gem.
Yeah.
I mean, brilliantly cast, well directed, finest special effects you can see. I mean, they're all basically their own Citizen Kane in a way. So really what we're going to talk about is the monsters because that's really what we want to talk about. So, Joe, when you're ready, let's go.
All right, we're going back to 1954 for the very first ever Godzilla, King of the Monsters.
That's
just Godzilla, or Gojira.
Gojira, that's when it was in Japan.
Yes,
Godzilla versus the city of Tokyo, where it basically just comes and trashes everything. This is a fantastic movie. It's a great allegory for the atomic age, and it is hella entertaining. There's an amazing thing about this movie, which some people know and don't know, is that the American version has actually added scenes with...
Raymond Burr.
Raymond Burr, thank you. Added into it, and surprisingly, it's actually pretty well done.
It holds up.
Yeah, if you watch it, as a kid, I didn't really realize it. Now, knowing that I know that they're not part of the original movie, it stands out a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's still actually fairly well done and transitions really well.
See both, but see the American, but also see the Japanese version because it's kind of a different film.
It's a little darker and more gritty.
Quick question, as someone who's only seen about
We're out of time, Dave. No, I'm
is the tone? I mean, the tone of the first one with Raymond Burr seems really serious. Did they go completely into camp after that one?
No. What are you talking
No,
about?
it took another 10 years before they really went into the camp.
Really
direction.
campy, yeah. They took Godzilla very seriously for the verse.
Yeah,
because they came out in that atomic age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many were black and white? I mean, because
the first two were black and white.
First two were black and white.
And the next one.
We're going to 1955 to watch Godzilla Raids again. Not rides, raids. I'm over here.
It's the first appearance of Anguirus, or Anguillus. I might be pronouncing that wrong. Who's the little
Anguirus.
Armadillo guy with spikes on his back? Who's the other monster? It's Godzilla. This is another real. This movie. First of all, it's a good film, but the first hour and a half of it, probably less than that, probably hour and 10, is really just a long talk about science, about evolution, about the effect of atomic. There's a few cutaways to monsters, but not until like the last 10 minutes does it really get into heavy monster territory.
It's a cool fight too. They have this big throwdown fight, and the first time you ever really got to see something like that.
Monster combat.
Yeah.
But it's worth checking out. But it is not the most. It's probably the one people have seen the least.
Yeah.
Because of the reasons I just said.
Yeah.
And what's next?
What's next?
I know what's next.
We're going to 1962, and this is a film that I think.
This film angers me, but go ahead.
Should have came out nowadays. This film would have made more sense to come out nowadays. It was Godzilla versus King Kong. Actually, it was King Kong versus Godzilla.
Boo! I'll tell you what my problem with this film is. Right here, okay? Godzilla versus King Kong. Now, I've heard rumors. In this movie, King Kong wins. I'm sorry, spoilers, but the movie's like 50 years old. Get over it. Spoilers, King Kong wins, which is atrocious to me.
Basically.
And there's rumors that the Japanese version has Godzilla win. I've never seen that, but all I know is Godzilla deserves to win and deserves a rematch. And until Hollywood gets on the ball, or Japan gets on the ball, I want a rematch. I need a rematch.
Wasn't like King Kong like a robot in this one?
No, that was King Kong. I know what you're thinking of.
That was King Kong raids again.
I think that was King Kong versus Mecha Kong. I think that's what it literally was.
Mecha Kong.
Yeah.
Just a wannabe.
This was just regular King Kong.
Boo.
He fought
all these years and he's never gotten a rematch. Godzilla deserves a rematch. That's all I'm going to say.
I read up on this, particularly this one, because this was the first Godzilla film I ever bought as a kid. It's the first one I saw. I know. I'm over here. And I've always thought, like, why did they just sequelize this?
Yes. I don't know. Well, really, one of the big problems is that King Kong is really like 1/10 the size of Godzilla. So
I know. They made him bigger in this one.
So anyway.
But it was a cool fight.
I demand it. So
1964,
Gareth Edwards,
we're going to 1964.
The sequel to 2014's Godzilla, bring back Kong. I want a rematch. I'm demanding it. Come on, keep it going.
1964, Mothra versus Godzilla.
or The Thing versus Godzilla.
I was going to say The Thing versus Godzilla, which is which is actually pretty good.
This is the follow-up, actually, to the movie Mothra, which is just about Mothra.
Yeah.
And it's a movie about environmentalism, which is
a lot of
boring.
these
So let's
films
not talk about that. Let's talk about Godzilla versus Mothra. First of all, let me just say this. I love Japan. I love the Japanese people. They have a beautiful culture. They're wonderful people. I love their movies, their animation, everything. I love their video games. They're fantastic. You mother effers are weird. I love you, but you're weird.
Yeah.
You have a giant moth that flies around, which is weird, and then you have tiny little girls who sing to the moth.
The twins, the saviors, or the
Weird, and it's like the whole movie is like an acid trip.
It
and then
is.
all of a
It's
sudden
really-
Godzilla shows up.
He's got
It's
the
like-
chubby cheeks in this one too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's where he starts to look a little more anthropomorphic.
But this was when he was still
But
a
he's
bad
still the
guy
bad
as
guy.
well, right? Yeah.
He's still the bad guy until the next movie. He starts to get sort of more of the
This, I
anti-hero.
believe, was his first appearance as a good guy. This next film, and I think this came out relatively around the same year.
It was shortly after that.
Shortly after this, Ghidorah, the three-headed monster, or Ghidra, for people who don't.
Yes, this is the first
care.
appearance of Godzilla's ultimate.
His big
rival.
nemesis, his biggest nemesis, actually.
It's
Yeah.
a giant three-headed dragon.
And what a great nemesis to have, by the way.
Yeah.
Let's point out, what an awesome monster.
And I'm going to get to my problem with it in a second. And basically, the story in this one is Ghidorah comes to Earth and starts tearing things up. Godzilla, 7 minutes. All right, we got to move things along.
Go, we can do this. Go.
All right, Godzilla teams up with Rodan and Mothra to battle him and drives him away. Now, let me tell you
Only
what bothers me.
1964.
Yeah, problem with this film, which we'll address shortly after the Ghidorah gets tons of rematches. He loses and gets tons of rematches.
Yeah.
You're about to see. Go ahead. What's the next movie?
Invasion of the Astro Monster or Monster Zero.
Ghidorah again. This time he
Ghidorah again.
teams up with some aliens. They mind control Godzilla and Rodan.
And
they bring loose
Mothra, is it
another.
Mothra? Is it just Rodan?
Mothra's in it at the end. He just
Yeah,
sort
that's
of
right. He comes in.
takes people away.
But we get away from that in 1966.
Godzilla versus the Sea Monster.
Godzilla versus Sea Monster. This is one of the
This
films
is
I watched as a
when
kid. This is a cool
the
film.
beginning. It's still a cool movie.
It's a little campy.
It's when you start to get that campy feel. He basically fights a giant lobster.
He does rip the arm off and
He
snap
does.
his head off with it, though.
And the whole fight takes place in the water. It's
Yeah.
kind of exciting.
Yeah.
But it's the beginning of the
he's just-
Monster Island
Yeah,
stuff.
that Monster Island stuff. And now we really get into camp, actually.
Yeah.
1967,
We
Son
go
of
right
Godzilla.
off the edge. Son of Godzilla.
Oh, God, just one word.
First of all,
describe it in
did you
one
even
word,
know
Tim.
what just ridiculous. And a giant spider. It's ridiculous and a giant spider.
The giant spider was cool, but I feel like they should have introduced that earlier or something. It could have been better. I know.
He has a son.
1968.
1968. Is this the Revenge of Godzilla?
Nope, this is Destroy All Monsters.
Oh, Destroy Monsters. This is a cool
film.
This is actually, they get back to some good stuff. But once again,
They introduce
someone
some
mind
new stuff,
controls
right?
all the monsters and they attack everything. And there's like 10 monsters. And then all of a sudden at the end, when the monsters break free of the mind control, they all battle Ghidorah. Once again, King Ghidorah gets... Now,
But
I actually feel bad in this one because Godzilla gets a whole gang of monsters and they all beat up on one guy. It's a little sad. But it's kind of cool seeing 10 monsters fighting at once. But hey, what are you going to do?
Moving on to 1969, All Monsters Attack or Godzilla's Revenge. This movie sucks. This movie sucks. I remember being so disappointed when I saw this.
This is
it's a clip show. It's a clip show, essentially.
It's a clip show of all the previous ones. It's a story about a kid who's getting bullied, and in his imagination, he's friends with the son of Godzilla, who talks.
Yeah, he has a bully too named
flippin'
Gabara.
talks. Yeah, he has a bully named Gabara and stuff
Which is
like
a cool monster.
And then there's a whole scene where there's crooks stealing.
Really
It's
bad. It's bad.
terrible.
It's just a bad movie. But we're
Skip
moving.
it.
But don't worry, Tim. There's
gets
hope.
worse.
Because we're moving on to 1971, Godzilla vs. Ghidorah. You might know it better as Godzilla versus the Smog Monster. This movie sucks too.
Yeah. The best scene in this is when they actually show the disco, which is like completely tripped out.
It's bad.
It's like an acid trip.
Very bad.
This movie's terrible.
It's
and
just a bad movie.
It's preachy in all the wrong ways.
But it's 70s preachy.
Although it actually is probably spot on with the environmentalist stuff, except for, the
haven't seen
monster
no monsters
bit.
yet.
But
I would be excited
the
about
sludge
that.
in the oceans, that's pretty spot on.
Moving on to 1972, this is one I actually liked because this is a pretty sweet nemesis for Godzilla. Godzilla versus Gigan.
Gigan. Yes. Also includes the first time Godzilla and Anguirus talk.
Yeah.
First and thankfully last
And
time.
they were like best friends.
Yeah, and they're best. And they team up to battle Gigan and King Ghidorah again. This guy gets more.
So
and
does
more.
Gigan too. Gigan pops
Yeah,
up.
Gigan
And they're
pops
always,
up again.
But it's always with King Ghidorah. They're like
Well, no, he
best
pops up
friends.
again in Godzilla vs. Megalirus.
1973, Godzilla versus Megalon.
Megalon, that's what it was.
And who pops up again in
Yes.
that?
Gigan. And this time, Godzilla teams up with a giant robot with the face of Jack Nicholson.
Jet Jaguar. He
Jet
has his
Jaguar.
own song. Jet Jaguar. The Japanese culture is very weird.
I love them to death.
Yeah,
You're
me
weird
too.
people. But he fights, but he wins and everything else like that. Of course he wins. He's Godzilla. This is when we're in prime time.
This is a really campy movie, actually.
Yeah.
The underground city.
Oh, the dialogue. Oh,
Yeah, it's so bad.
There's a Mystery Science Theater 3000 episode of it.
Yeah.
Watch it. It's epic.
Hysterical. 1974, Godzilla, the first of another guy who gets lottery matches. Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla.
Yeah.
This is a good movie. I had this one.
It's good because first Godzilla goes around pretending he's, which
it's a misdirection.
It's a misdirection. Godzilla is destroying places, and they're like,
At
why
this
is
point,
Godzilla
Godzilla's established as a good guy.
Yes,
So.
now he's like, hey, Godzilla. They have boat trips to visit him.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. But now he's destroying places again. And they wonder why, and then it turns out that it was
Mechagodzilla.
Oh my God! And then they end up battling, and he teams up with King Caesar.
Caesar. Who's a giant lion's head. He's a cool creature.
I guess it's weird. He's got like a lion/dog
He's
head.
like an upright lion or something like that.
Yeah.
And he comes out of a mountain.
Yes.
Moving on, though, we get a rematch immediately with this one. 1975, the Terror of Mechagodzilla. One of my favorite team-ups that never happened again was the Titanosaurus was in this one?
Yes, Mechagodzilla and Titanosaurus versus Godzilla.
Yeah.
It's a 2-on-1.
Never and Godzilla wins.
Of course.
I actually like this movie. This one was on TNT all the time. This one was kind of cool.
We have 3 minutes.
We take a 10-year break. We go to Godzilla 1985. I think it's awesome. Do you think it's awesome?
Yeah, it's all right.
All right, moving on. 1989, Godzilla versus Biollante.
Godzilla versus a giant rose bush.
Yeah,
Enough said.
Yeah,
and it absorbs the souls of people it kills. It's ridiculous. It's a bit of a misfire on that one. We get better, though. We get better.
No, we are. We're going back in the research.
The new Godzilla versus King Ghidorah, where they introduce the actual origin story of Godzilla, which is kind of interesting.
Yep.
And then he fights Ghidorah, and then kicks
once
his
again, he
butt.
fights
and then
Ghidorah.
Ghidorah comes back as Mecha Ghidorah.
That was what I liked about this movie. You got to see the Mecha Ghidorah, and he cut off one of his heads, right?
Yeah.
And he's dead. He kills him at the beginning of it.
Eventually, they all die.
1992, Godzilla versus Mothra. Again.
Yeah, the introduction of Batra.
Yes, Batra. What a weird creature.
Yes, and they battle Godzilla. It's pretty good, actually.
This is Godzilla's a bad guy again, too.
Godzilla's a bad guy. He's back to kicking butt.
Except here, Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla 2, 1993.
Yes, they build a giant Mechagodzilla to fight Godzilla.
Yeah.
And guess who wins? Godzilla. They defeat Godzilla, but they end up destroying Mechagodzilla completely.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what happens a
was
lot
that
in these
the one
movies.
with the bones?
No, the ones with the bones is we'll get to the...
1984, Godzilla versus Space Godzilla.
Yes, it's like basically a space Godzilla.
It's Godzilla versus Godzilla.
They actually bring back the idea that Godzilla has a kid in this one.
Yeah.
Who's actually being held by
an actual kid, though, not the one that talks.
Yeah,
this makes a little more sense.
Not Gadzuki.
No.
No, Gadzuki was from the animated series. The son of Godzilla was named Milla.
Yeah. But this one was just Baby Godzilla.
That's right.
1995, and I like this one a lot. Godzilla versus Destroyer.
This is a good one.
This is a pretty cool movie.
This is actually the end of this series. They did it. This series all runs together.
Yeah.
Godzilla Destroyer.
Yeah,
basically
they
the monster is created off the original.
And they make Godzilla kind of a good guy in this again towards the end.
Yeah, Godzilla's actually becoming overpowered. He's glowing. He's absorbed too much radiation from the environment. He's probably a minute and a half. But anyway, yes, he fights Destroyer. Keep going.
And then his son comes in and grows up, and moving on, we take a 5-year break, and we go to Godzilla 2000. Saw this in the theaters. I actually kind of liked it.
I really enjoyed this one too. It was
cool
a great
fight at the end.
Yeah.
Really good monster. Moving on, Godzilla versus Megaguirus.
Godzilla fighting giant insects.
Yep.
Who could have a problem with that?
Nobody.
Fantastic.
Now, and for my favorite title of all time, Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah, giant monsters, all-out attack.
This is a great
title. Let's go. How can you go wrong?
You know, the monsters are all basically part of Japanese lore, and they're all demons, and they fight each other. And Godzilla basically tears a path through all of them until the end, where they sacrifice themselves but take out Godzilla. Anyway, moving on.
Godzilla, another Mechagodzilla. Godzilla against Mechagodzilla.
Yes, this is when they use the bones from the original
Godzilla.
Godzilla.
In American, this was put out in America as Tokyo SOS.
No, Tokyo SOS is a different movie.
Okay.
Yes.
I agree.
Yes. So anyway, Tokyo SOS is the follow-up to this, where they rebuild, and then Mechagodzilla gets a soul. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's good.
And then we're wrapping up this entire. This is the final film. This was the last one put out by Toho. It was called Godzilla Final Wars. I actually really like this movie. This movie's fun.
This movie's Godzilla basically does a full-on Mortal Kombat fight with every
They
single
bring back
monster.
every monster.
Every monster. They soup up
Even
Gigan.
ones that weren't even in like a Godzilla movie. Don't they bring back that giant squid?
They do. They bring back the giant snake guy
Yeah.
who has no purpose.
Yep.
He fights the
Every
American
monster,
Godzilla
he
in
fights
like 2
the-
seconds.
oh, God.
He destroys him in 2
But the
seconds.
thing about it is the movie's cool, and then but Godzilla doesn't show up until like the last 45 minutes of it, even
and
less.
that's when the battle royale.
And he has a battle royale, and he tears through every monster. And as a Godzilla fan, like if you're a big Godzilla fan, that's all you want to see. You want to see him tear through every monster because he is the king of the monsters.
I mean, I love the stories in these movies. Although they're the same exact story every single time. Some scientist builds something, the military guy sacrifices himself.
Look at James Bond after 20-something films. Got a
Yes, and I will watch every single
Dave, you're
one.
still here. Good.
Yeah, hey. Formula, and then some.
Which is why if it looks like the formula
10
for the new
seconds.
movie is the same as the other movies, which makes me so happy.
Really quick, in one
Tim, let's
sentence, how
call
do you
in.
sum up the new Godzilla?
Awesome.
All right.
Okay, so everybody, I want everybody like this is. Let's give Tim a hearty goodbye. He was an amazing co-host.
A laurel
He
and
bought
hearty
he
handshake.
bought insight and interesting stories and anecdotes. All this. I love having
Dave,
you as
you're
my
too sweet.
co-host. So, but we're gonna take. In commemoration of him, we're taking next week off. So, so come back in 2
Tim
weeks.
doesn't like to
when
work.
we talk about Amazing Spider-Man 2 and the films of Jamie Foxx. And eventually, if you stay with us long enough, you are gonna see a special episode with nothing but Heathers. So we'll see you in 2 weeks, ladies and
At a
gentlemen.
slumber
Thank
party.
you so much for tuning in, and thank you, Tim,
Have
for being
my
part
way,
of the show.
Wolby.
Or it could be Joe and I at a slumber party.
I'll do that too.
Radio.com.